All right, Siggy time. Because I just did. Let's see. I just finished recording the first part. And I want to do it in parts so that people have one, so that they're kind of segmented in my brain, and so that people, like, the internet's fucked. I don't know when Optimum is gonna have it back. Anyways, I'm calling it the Odyssey because it was a more relevant Odyssey for me because it happened to me, and I didn't have to read book to go on it. So this is going to be part two, and it's going to pick up basically when I encountered the cops. So yeah. Now, I've had encounters with cops basically my entire life because of my epilepsy. Because of my epilepsy, and because of I'm diagnosed with they call it schizotypal or schizoaffective. It's in that kind of family of schizophrenic stuff. I also have depression. So, I mean, this all kind of just blah family of mental disorders. But now you're working internet? Yeah, didn't think so. It basically comes from I had seizures and I bashed my head around. So you get brain trauma from falling down. Not only from falling down and hitting your head so much, but just the effect of the seizure is just damaging brain way. I'm going to try and let me see. Is the internet actually working? The seizure damages your brain just by itself. I mean, and if that weren't enough on its own, you get all this knockoff effect garbage. I'm trying to do multiple things at the same time, which I shouldn't do. Hold on, pause. So just go get some food, kiss your babe, hold on. Okay, alright. So hopefully the internet's going to be stable. And I'm back, by the way. Because the internet's on. I'm uploading the first part. Okay, so, yes. I have no idea what I was talking about. So, oops. If you were getting real into what I was just talking about, sorry. The internet's on and I'm taking advantage of it, so. Maybe I'll come circle around, so just, be patient. Yeah, I'm talking about where part two is going to begin. Part two is going to begin with me walking home just walking home, and I come to the Y intersection. This is all where what I remember with my memory is okay. I remember things, and this is all me sleep deprived and mixed with all of this. So I'm remembering things as I remember them. And a lawyer and scientists and all that stuff will be able to tell you that the memory is very shady. So you can remember something and you can be 100% sure that's how it happened. And it can be completely like, you can have a videotape of someone remembering this is what happened. And the video evidence can be like, see, it wasn't a car. It was a guy on a bicycle. And you'd be like, I know it was a car. I remember it in my head. It was a car with a guy driving a car. It was a blue Mercedes. And it's like, hey, look at the videotape. And this is before all like modern. This is like in the 1983, where it's like doing something like that would mean like NSA level crap technology. Like, and even then, there would be ways to, like memories. So you know what I'm saying. So I remember shit. It's just me remembering stuff, and people be like, "Well, yeah, you can remember stuff, and it can get really weird, like a dream. Dream, you can just, man, don't even get me started on talking about my dreams, because yikes, that's an entirely different, not video, but one video every day kind of subject. Like I could just do a video every day about every time I fall asleep kind of things. Because I dream every time I fall asleep. But I could make videos about every time I fall asleep. I pretty much remember every dream every time I fall asleep. I don't remember it specifically clearly, but like I can get some kind of like hint of it usually. That's annoying usually. Because they're usually not worth remembering. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. So the interaction with the cops. Oh, now I remember, I think, what I was going for. Where I was going before. I've had a lot of interactions with the police over the course of my life. Because of my messed up brain, seizures, bash on head, seizures, destroyed brain, blah. The interactions were from two kind of things. One would have been my family life was fairly decent, but both my parents were drinkers for a good deal of the time. My mom stopped drinking at some point. I don't know exactly when, but I think she stopped drinking at some point. I want to say at some point when I was in primary school-ish. First to, let's just make it wider, first to fifth grade-ish, something like that. And my dad just drank till the day he died. And he drank beer. He drank He drank in a way that one of my friends called our car the beer mobile. Uh, so yeah, um, and there were not a lot, but not an insignificant number of interactions with the police because of that. You know, it's not like we weren't the family, you know, the family that like, oh God, they're calling. The cops went to the McMahon house again, you know, but whatever. Oh shit, I gave my name away. Ah, fuck, whatever. Now you're gonna find me and kill me, aren't you? I don't feel like editing it out. Whatever. Now you know me. Well, you can probably find my face anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. Is that a bug there? It's dead. Okay. So yeah. Anyways, um, it wasn't like that, but we had enough where the police knew us. Um, it still wasn't. It still wasn't like terribly traumatizing. Um, so I had that interaction, that kind of relationship with the police, let's say. And also, because of the seizures and the schizophrenia kind of thing, that kind of all the bumps on the head caused, I had kind of a history of wigging out, if you want to call it that. Not like, you know, a lot of times, but enough, 2, 3 times, that the police probably, I don't know if the police knew about it really, but there were a couple interactions. There were interactions that I knew how the police reacted, but it was like kind of different departments over the course of my life. So it's like, you know, because I didn't really live in exactly the same place each time, and you know, so whatever. I just know how police departments kind of react, and they always react. Cops are like the Borg. They don't ever come. It's just they don't ever come in ones, and you know, usually almost all the time you'll get two. You know, unless you're in some of the most remote areas, you might get one. You might get a guy in a police car, in a cruiser or whatever, that is by himself. Then you might get one guy. But, you know, if he stops you, the first thing he's going to do is, you know, blah, 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 pulling, blah, 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 blah. He'll do his call out to the dispatcher. This is what I'm doing. I'm pulling over for this. And if everybody else is doing nothing, one other guy at minimum is going to be like, on my way. Nobody else is doing anything. 2 guys are going to come. Minimum. And that's if you're like in the middle of nowhere. For the most of my life, until I came to Trinity, I was living in basically suburbs. So all the interactions, this is already 15 minutes long. All the interactions I had with police, minimum number of cops that would interact with me was like 6. And so I always had enough memory to remember, like, I was wigging out, and it's like, there's 6 cops all around me. Three or four that I can see, and at least 2 on my flank. And I'm just wigging out, and I'm just like, that's kind of a weird, like, because you're in this mental space and experiencing, who knows what you're experiencing, and you're fucking surrounded on top of that. And it just feeds into the paranoia that you have. And it only makes everything worse. And cops, I don't think you really understand that kind of approach. It's kind of good for public safety, but at the same time, when you want to help someone, it really doesn't help someone. It doesn't simmer it down. It makes the person go. Thankfully, I was a person that, like, I really wanted to, like, fight and shit, but I almost always had enough presence of mind, even in that state, to chill. And yet, cops gotta be copping. Sometimes you gotta use just a little more force than is necessary. Now, this time in Trinity, I was a little bit more resisty than I usually. Usually, with the other times that I'm talking about, it was like I kind of like was able to have enough presence of mind to be like, six around me now, and more coming. That's bad. That's bad numbers. And this in Trinity, I was just like, for some reason, I don't know, I didn't like the way that I was approached and handled, and just like somehow, some way, I don't remember exactly how it kind of got to that point, but I think someone put a hand on me or my arm or my shoulder or something a little too early, that kind of like you put a hand on someone early and they twitch like that. And one of the cops probably took that as like, oh, he's going to run or he's going to reach for something or something. And then another cop from the other side or the near flank does like a tackle. And then that makes everything way worse. And then, of course, I'm going to be like, what the fuck? It's like, so the guy that made the first move too early, basically, is what I'm saying. So that guy kind of just fucked it up by just kind of like not realizing this dude is kind of like, nah. And I wasn't on any drugs either. They did all the tests and totally clean because I'm not on any drugs. I don't do drugs. I used to smoke weed. That's the tippy top. They apparently have some kind of problem here in Trinity with meth, maybe a little fentanyl. So they probably were thinking, oh, this guy's fucking tweaking. They just kind of jumped to that conclusion and stuff, instead of trying to, everybody comes to every situation with their own assumptions. It sucks, but it's true. So that happened, and then I finally kind of just was like, I remember just kind of like after a little rustling, I was just like, and I just calmed down. But this hand, my right hand, is a little fucked up still because they put the cuff on this hand. It's a little bit too hard. I talked to a person in the psych ward about that. I'm like, do they always do that? He was a black guy. So I asked him, and he's like, yeah. He'd been arrested several times, more than several in his lifetime. He was a kind of like I don't know, 50, 60-year-old black guy. He was just like, he just answered it nonchalantly, like, yeah, like with a little laugh. And it was like, of course they put it on too tight. What are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm asking that because I was moved a couple times throughout this entire thing, and they didn't put it on like this time. They put it on like with a lot of give, so that like because I was being transported, I wasn't like a threat or anything. They put it on just so I couldn't like easily get out of it and like just run away. Plus, they had it on my feet too. So I mean, like by the time they were transporting me, they were just kind of doing all the assessments, and they're like, this guy's not really a threat, but we kind of technically have to have cuffs on me. Plus, those cuffs are like, they're just a little heavy and everything. So like just wearing them is kind of just like, I don't know, it's very uncomfortable just having real handcuffs on. More so than you ever really think until you actually have them on your fucking hands. And they're just uncomfortable to have on. They like dig into the bone, and it's just annoying to have them on. Unless you're like someone in the prison system and you're actually accustomed enough to them where you're like, really? I don't notice that. It's like, yeah, they are. Because, I never fucking have them on. My hands or my fucking ankles. So I can tell you as someone that doesn't have them on them all the time, they're fucking annoying. It's annoying to have steel resting on your fucking skin bone. Anyways. That's why when medieval people were wearing plate armor, they had that nice thick ass padding in between the armor and themselves, even though they were buff. Like fucking like The Rock level buff. Like they were buff people. Well, okay, maybe they weren't that buff, but they were pretty buff. I'm betting they were buff people. Because if you were the kind of guy that they were going to invest that kind of money in, because plate armor, I mean, they're not making that for everybody. Most fucking soldiers came in with a t-shirt and maybe a sword. But usually it's like a club or something. Or like their farmer tools. Maybe some kind of axe that was handed down through the family. That wasn't like a farming axe, but was like an axe. Like, I've killed 300 men personally with this axe. That Braveheart sword shit. That fucking 6.5 foot two-handed fucking claymore that he has. He only has that because he's actually a fucking freeman that owns land and stuff. That thing would have been whatever. By the way, those things, it's my contention that thing right there, they probably usually use that as like a spear. Thrust. It's intended to be thrusted on people, and you only really swing it, when you need to. Anyway, another aside. So yeah, I was arrested. Now I don't really remember the path of arrests and like how I get to where, but apparently as it was relayed to me. So I was arrested. I went to Trinity Jail, and then okay, this is just so weird. There's so much to unpack in a lot of this. Okay, so I went from Trinity Jail to like the city, Trinity City Jail to the county lockup. And I had also once they were like, oh, whatever, we know, blah blah blah. You could tell you're not right in the head. Then they took me to uh, a hospital at some point. I don't even know. I don't even know what part to talk about in this next. I don't even know how to go about this next. Because there is some weird stuff. I think I'm going to talk about. I think the best way is to talk about all the hospital stuff. Yes, I'm going to switch it. Yes, I'm going to do that. Okay, so ugh, it's 10:20. So that's that. That's basically all of the cop stuff that I want to talk about for now. That pretty much gives you a good idea of the cop stuff. There's some other weird cop stuff that I'm going to get into at another time. But, oh boy, oh boy. That is like weird. That is like the stuff that I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's fact, what's fiction. Did my mind just create this? So I don't even know. And all the stuff in this video right here, I don't know how much of it is true, really, either. So, you know, I mean, that's my account as I can recall it. So, it's, and I'm sure the official report is pretty different too from the police and any witnesses or complainants that were investigated. Anyways, that's going to be part 2. Thank you. Tax them, kneecap them, boobs. Good day.